want to do is just give everyone the opportunity to introduce themselves. Just tell them a little bit about yourself and who you are. So if you want to kick off.
Sure. So I might set the bar with this, but I'm going to start with my mantra, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I am a purpose-driven king of faith who leads with love, grace, and truth. I am fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of God, and I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I'm a chef by trade, but I'm a servant leader above anything else.
And your name?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. My name is Lucas Anthony Salcido, best known as Tone or Tony.
Oh, so for me,
No, I'm ready for you to follow that, right?
Where's your mantra? Let's bring it down a notch.
I was like, man, I got to make something up.
No, I can't do it. I am all, man, thank you. Affirmations, baby. No, it's great. But I'm Marcus Daniels. I retired from the military in 2018. I spent like 22 years in the military. I've done some pretty cool things with that. One of my favorite things to say, Rangers lead the way. That's my little mantra. We have our little Ranger creed and stuff like that. But I love it. It's just a way to live. And then from there, while I was in the military, I got into Army combatives, which pushed me down the MMA route. So I'm a professional mixed martial artist as well as a black belt in jiu-jitsu. So right now, what I currently do now is I teach people, resiliency, grit, determination, perseverance, humility. It's another thing to have a man on top choking you out, fighting will against will. So, but that's what I do. But the title that I'm most proud of right now is the fact that I get to be a stay-at-home dad to my kids. I get to be the spiritual leader of my household and guide my kids down the right path. So the Bible tells us to train your kids up in the way.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at. That's what I'm doing.
That's awesome. My name is Alfred Burgess, and I've been married 25 years, have 3 awesome kids. I'm a pastor, business owner, and ministry entrepreneur, I guess you could say. And one of the best things about my life, I get to help people, empower people to fulfill what God has for them and whatever needs necessary that is. Yeah. So I'm just honored to be in the company of you guys today.
Well, I feel kind of like this is a AA circle. Anointed anonymous. I like it a lot. So I'm Shannon Sims, aka the Silver Fox on social media. I'm an entrepreneur. My trade has been critical care nursing since I was 18, now 37. I'm a jack of a lot of trades, a master of none of them, and I prefer that one.
Yeah, thank you all for having me.
My name is Ramel Freeman. Currently, I am a creative director. I have a background in ministry. I also freelance videography, and glad to be here. Like everyone has said, kind of really excited to just engage in this conversation, and it's an honor. So thank you.
Yeah. You know what it is. One had you see me every week, so there's nothing more I can say. Let's get into it.
Whenever you guys hear the word masculinity, what comes to mind for you?
Strength, warrior spirit. For me, I think of a man that's going to stand up and face whatever adversary that comes in his way. So that's what I think.
I'd probably say like macho. Like that, someone, when you hear that term, it's somebody that's not afraid, but also there's a little bit of negative connotation to that too. It's like you hear masculinity and you're like, and as a guy you're like, it's one of those guys, and I don't know if you can put that necessarily into terms, but that some guy that you're like, I really don't want to hang around him, but he gives off an air of that, just macho and better than everybody else, just like, nah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where my mind naturally goes when I hear the word, which is unfortunate. Like it kind of goes to the negative side, but I agree with that. Like that's kind of, just like the dude that is trying really hard to embody manliness. So yeah.
Yeah, like it's like you're not soft, like you don't have emotions, you take it, you just push through. Like masculinity, yes, we don't cry, we're tough, and I think it's always the hardness that our mind defaults to about masculinity. Like you gotta be this hard dude, and if you're soft, you're not masculine, or you're feminine because you do that. So. We dealt with a lot of that stuff in the series, but most of the time people think negative thoughts, and then toxic masculinity is such a big thing right now. But nobody, it's easy to point out the problem, but not the solution. Yes. And so that's why we did this series, because we wanted to show the example and the solution for it. Jesus, he was the balance of perfect masculinity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Lion and lamb.
Yeah.
Yeah, lion in the land. Yeah. That's right. I'm perfect example. Yeah. That and when we lead from scripture, we do see that balance. And I say this a lot. A lot of people in church don't read the Bible. So when you talk about references like that, or grace and truth, like he doesn't come letting you get away with everything without telling you what's really true. Right. So it's that balance. John says that he comes with grace and truth, and so it people got to get into that scripture, because the ignorance of the scripture, the ignorance of the gospel is ignorance of Jesus. So you can never define Jesus outside of his word. Period.
I think it's really interesting that when we're discussing masculinity, outline is the extreme of masculinity. Yes. Right? Yeah. Everyone's examples personify the extreme of masculinity. Yeah. And it's interesting that you mentioned balance. Yeah. Because that's something that society lacks as a whole, right?
Yeah.
It's balance. And I think when men try to obtain that masculine balance, it's important that we dig into that scripture.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So one of the things that I looked at, because I looked at the definition of masculinity, we talked about stoicism, talking about being stoic, part of stoic is not having emotion or not showing emotion, and all that kind of stuff. And then, I looked at different examples in the Bible of the different men, there's a lot of wars in the Bible, I consider myself to be, I embrace violence, I don't love violence, I don't like to hurt people. But when it comes to looking out for my brother to my left and my right, that's where I see a masculine man who's going to stand in front of his brother and his two brothers, right? And not necessarily take the bullet, but fight that battle for him. So that's what I look at. And so that's kind of extreme as well, And again,
it has its place.
It has its place. And we talk about toxic masculinity, that dives right into the negative, like misogyny and all that kind of stuff, holding women down, that's where that extreme comes into. Yes, sir.
In comparison to what we know to actually be true about Christ, what elements of who you know Jesus to be pushes back against your own masculinity and challenges you?
Yeah, I think for me it's like when I look at anything really that culture says, the Bible or Jesus kind of seems to promote the opposite of. And so, when you take scripture, that says the first will be last, or, those that are humble are actually the ones that will be exalted, not the people that exalt themselves. Like those types of things just make me really feel like maybe it is the man that is more meek or gentle or in tune with his emotions that is actually the biblical definition of a man. And so it's almost like whatever definition the culture puts out there, I try to think of like through the lens of like maybe it is backwards. backwards. You know, maybe it is the opposite end in that balance that actually is more in line with, you know, what we're really supposed to be. So yeah.
When you look in Scripture at Jesus, there was kindness, there was gentleness, and he was a balance of temperament.
Yeah. Yeah.
And going, okay, I look at even my own life and in our culture around us, that balance of temperament really isn't there. It is the extreme one way or the other. You're gonna do this at all costs. You're going to stand up for this issue or lead this business or politically, racially. It's so much pushes, and there's not that temperament balance that's in there. And I think that biblical masculinity has some of that balance of temperament.
Absolutely.
That you can be gentle, you can be kindness. But I think our fallen world has skewed that so much.
Polarized.
Going, man, if we really want to be like I grew up in a house where it was very, you know, you're gonna do this and you're gonna, you know, not stand up for people, you're gonna stand up for you.
Yeah. Right.
And there was never this prefer one another, put someone else's needs before you. It was like, no, you're gonna take what's owed to you. And going, man, we've so missed that. That's not what Jesus did.
Yeah.
And when you really see him and his life and his kindness and gentleness, oh man, that flies in the face of how I grew up and what I was taught to be a man.
Yeah.